You have owned an aloe vera plant for years, maybe a decade. It sits on your kitchen windowsill, plump, green, uncomplaining. You've used its gel to soothe sunburns, to heal kitchen cuts, to moisturize dry skin. You have watched it produce pup after pup, filling new pots with baby aloes. And then, one morning, you glance over and stop. Something is different. A tall, thin stalk is rising from the center of the plant, unlike anything you have seen before. Tiny buds dangle from its tip, orange or yellow or red, like miniature lanterns. Your aloe vera is blooming, and suddenly you realize you have no idea why. You thought aloe was grown for its leaves, not its flowers. You thought it only bloomed in the wild. You've heard old wives' tales about what the bloom means. Good luck, a sign of maturity, a sign of stress. Today, we are solving the mystery of why the aloe vera plant blooms, and the answer will transform how you see this humble household healer. Welcome to Everyday Harvest, where we dig into the secrets of the plants that share our homes. Today, we are talking about one of the most beloved, useful, and surprisingly mysterious houseplants on Earth, the aloe vera, and its rare, spectacular flower. Let us begin. Imagine this. You've had your aloe for 8 years. It has survived your forgetfulness, your overwatering, your dark apartments, your sunny kitchens. You've never seen it do anything dramatic. It just sits there, quietly growing, quietly healing. Then one winter morning, you notice a thin green spike emerging from the center of the rosette. It grows quickly, an inch a day, reaching 2 feet, then 3. At the tip, a cluster of buds forms, each one shaped like a tiny bell. And then they open. Orange flowers, tubular and pendulous, like a cascade of miniature trumpets. Hummingbirds would love them if you had hummingbirds indoors. The bloom lasts for weeks. You are captivated. You run to the internet. You discover that aloe blooms are rare indoors. And you wonder, what did I do right? The aloe vera plant, Aloe barbadensis Miller, is native to the Arabian Peninsula. It grows in hot, arid climates, from Yemen to Oman. In its natural habitat, it blooms every year, typically in late winter or early spring. The flowers are pollinated by sunbirds and insects, drawn by their bright colors and sweet nectar. The plant has evolved a precise strategy. It waits for the right combination of temperature, light, and water stress. Then it invests a significant amount of stored energy into producing a tall flower stalk, which can reach 3 feet in height and bear dozens of individual blooms. The goal is simple: produce seeds, spread, survive. But indoors, we have disrupted every single one of those signals. We keep our homes at a steady temperature year-round. We water on a schedule, usually too much. We provide artificial light that is both dim and constant. The aloe vera, ever adaptable, responds by shutting down its reproductive machinery. It focuses on survival. It stores water in its thick, succulent leaves. It sends out pups to clone itself. It doesn't need flowers to reproduce in our living rooms. So, when an aloe does bloom indoors, it's an event, a rarity, a signal that you have done something very right. But what? Let me walk you through the exact conditions that trigger an aloe vera plant to flower. I have researched this extensively, spoken with botanists, and experimented with my own plants. Here's what I've learned. The first condition is age. A young aloe will almost never bloom. It needs to reach maturity, which typically takes 4 to 5 years. The plant must have a robust root system and a large rosette of leaves. It must have accumulated enough carbohydrates to support the energy-intensive process of flowering. Think of it this way. A young aloe is like a teenager. It's still growing, still establishing itself. It doesn't have the resources to start a family. A mature aloe is like an adult. It has a stable home, a full pantry, and the capacity to invest in the future. So, if your aloe is new, don't expect flowers. If it's old and established, you're a candidate.
The second condition is light. Aloe vera plants are sun lovers. In their native habitat, they receive full sun for most of the day. Indoors, they need as much light as you can give them. A south-facing window is ideal. A west-facing window is second best. If you only have north or east windows, your aloe may survive, but it will not thrive, and it will almost certainly not bloom. To trigger flowering, your aloe needs several hours of direct sunlight each day. Not dappled, not filtered, direct. The plant uses this light to photosynthesize, producing the sugars it needs to fuel flower production. If you move your aloe from a dim corner to a sunny window, you might see a bloom within a few months. The plant is responding to increased energy. It has more sugar to spend, and it chooses to spend some of that sugar on flowers. But here is the nuance. Too much sudden sun can scorch the leaves. Aloe leaves can turn brown or red when stressed by intense light. That is not necessarily bad. It is the plant producing protective pigments. But if the leaves become soft or mushy, that is sunburn. The key is gradual acclimation. Move your aloe closer to the window over a period of weeks. Rotate the pot so all sides receive light, and consider supplementing with a grow light in winter. Aloes need a certain number of light hours to trigger blooming. In their native environment, they respond to the lengthening days of late winter. Indoors, you can mimic this by providing 14 to 16 hours of light per day during the winter months, then reducing slightly. The change in photoperiod is a powerful signal. The third condition is water stress. This is the most counterintuitive factor. Aloe vera are succulents. They store water in their thick, fleshy leaves. They are adapted to drought. In the wild, they bloom after a dry period followed by a soaking rain. The dry period stresses the plant, causing it to produce flowering hormones. The rain signals that conditions are favorable for reproduction. Indoors, you can mimic this cycle. Let your aloe dry out completely between waterings. Wait until the soil is bone dry, not just dry on the surface. Stick your finger into the soil up to your second knuckle. If you feel any moisture, wait. When the soil is completely dry, water deeply, allowing the water to run through the drainage holes. Then let it dry out again. This cycle of drought and flood mimics the natural environment. It tells the plant, times are tough, but a good season is coming. Now is the time to make seeds. Many aloe owners overwater. They water every week, keeping the soil constantly moist. The plant survives, but it never flowers. It may even develop root rot. The key is to water only when the leaves show slight signs of thirst, a little less plump, a little more concave. That stress is exactly what triggers the bloom response. I have seen this work. A friend had an aloe for 10 years, no flowers. She was watering every 10 days. I told her to wait until the soil was completely dry, which in her home meant every 3 to 4 weeks. Within 4 months, her aloe produced a stunning 2-foot flower stalk. She was shocked. The plant was thanking her for the neglect. The fourth condition is temperature. Aloe vera blooms in response to a drop in nighttime temperature, especially in late winter. In their native habitat, the days are warm, but the nights can be cool, sometimes dropping to 50 to 55 degrees Fahrenheit. This temperature fluctuation signals the change of season. Indoors, we keep our homes warm at night, often 65 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. The plant never receives the signal. If you can provide a cooler environment at night, you may trigger flowering. In late winter, move your aloe to a cooler room at night. A sunroom, a guest bedroom, or even near a slightly open window. Aim for a drop to around 50 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit at night with daytime temperatures of 65 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Do not expose the plant to freezing temperatures. A few weeks of this natural temperature cycle can be enough to initiate flower buds. Some aloe enthusiasts swear by giving their plants a winter rest. They reduce watering and move them to a cool, bright location for 6 to 8 weeks. Then, as the days lengthen and temperatures rise, the plant responds with a flower stalk. It mimics the natural dry season followed by the rainy season. This technique is well known among succulent growers. It works for many species, not just aloe. The fifth condition is pot size and root crowding. Aloe vera like to be slightly root-bound. When the roots fill the pot, the plant feels pressure to reproduce. If you repot your aloe into a large container, it will focus on root growth, not flowers. It will send out new pups, filling the extra space. If you leave it in a snug pot, with roots circling the bottom, it will feel stress and may respond by blooming. So if your aloe is root-bound and healthy, do not repot it. Let it be. That crowding might be the trigger it needs. However, if the plant is so root-bound that it's cracking the pot or pushing itself out of the soil, it is time to repot. But only go up one pot size. Too large, and you will wait years for blooms.
The sixth condition is a period of dormancy. Aloe veras naturally slow their growth in winter, even indoors. They need this rest period to build up energy for spring blooming. If you keep your aloe actively growing all year with constant water and fertilizer, it may never bloom. The secret is to reduce watering in winter, stop fertilizing, and allow the plant to rest. Then, as spring approaches, resume normal care. The change from dormancy to active growth can trigger flowering. Now, let me address the myths. Some people believe that an aloe blooming indoors is a sign that the plant is about to die. This is not true. A dying aloe will not have the energy to produce a flower stalk. It will simply collapse. The leaves will turn yellow, then brown, then mushy. The plant will not waste its last resources on flowers. It will try to survive. A bloom is a sign of a mature, healthy, well-cared-for plant. It is a reward, not a warning. Other people believe that you should cut off the flower stalk to save the plant's energy. This is a matter of preference. The flower stalk does consume energy, but the plant has chosen to invest that energy. If you cut it off, the plant may try again next year. If you leave it, you will enjoy weeks of beautiful blooms. After the flowers fade, the stalk will dry and can be removed. The plant will not be harmed. Some people even harvest the seeds and grow new aloes, though it is a slow process. So what does an aloe vera bloom actually look like? Let me describe it. The flower stalk emerges from the center of the rosette, not from the side. It is a tall, slender, unbranched spike, green with a reddish tinge. It can grow 2 to 3 feet tall, sometimes higher. At the tip, a cluster of buds forms, each one hanging downward like a tiny bell. The buds are usually orange, but they can also be yellow, red, or coral, depending on the variety. When they open, the flowers are tubular, about an inch long, with 6 petal-like segments. The stamens protrude slightly, covered in yellow pollen. The flowers open from the bottom of the cluster upward, so the bloom can last for weeks. The fragrance is subtle, not as strong as a snake plant's bloom, but sweet and slightly spicy. Some people describe it as smelling like honey or mild jasmine. The bloom is a stunning contrast to the spiky green leaves. It is the aloe's way of showing off. After the flowers fade, they will drop and small green capsules may form. These capsules contain seeds. When they turn brown and dry, you can harvest the seeds. Sow them in well-draining soil, keep them warm and moist, and you may get new aloe seedlings. But be patient. Aloe seeds can take weeks to germinate, and the seedlings grow slowly. Most people simply enjoy the bloom and then cut off the spent stalk at the base. Let me give you a practical checklist if you want to encourage your aloe vera to bloom. First, be patient. Your plant needs to be at least 4 to 5 years old. Second, give it as much direct sunlight as possible. A south-facing window is best. Third, adopt a drought and flood watering cycle. Let the soil dry completely, then water deeply. Wait again. Fourth, provide a temperature drop at night during late winter. Aim for 50 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Fifth, keep it slightly root-bound. Do not repot unless necessary. Sixth, allow a winter dormancy period with reduced water and no fertilizer. Seventh, be consistent. Plants respond to routine. If you keep changing your care, the plant will be confused. And if your aloe never blooms, do not despair. It is still a magnificent plant. It still produces healing gel that has been used for thousands of years. Cleopatra used it in her beauty rituals. Ancient Egyptians called it the plant of immortality. It still purifies your indoor air, removing formaldehyde and benzene. It still produces pups that you can share with friends and family. The bloom is a bonus, not a requirement. It is the plant's way of saying thank you, of showing off, of reminding you that even the most practical utilitarian plants have a hidden beauty. I remember the first time my own aloe bloomed. I had grown it from a tiny pup given to me by a neighbor. For years, it was just a cluster of green spikes on my windowsill. I used it for sunburns, for kitchen burns, for dry skin. I never expected flowers.
Then, one February, I noticed a thin spike. I thought it was a deformed leaf, but it kept growing, taller and taller. When the first orange bell opened, I called my mother. She said, "Oh, they do that when they are very happy." That was all, but it meant everything. I felt like I had earned a secret badge. I had become a true aloe keeper.
Now, I want to hear from you. Has your aloe vera ever bloomed? What color were the flowers? How did you feel when you saw that unexpected stalk? Do you have a photo? Share your story in the comments below. Let us celebrate the aloe vera not just as a first aid kit, but as a flowering wonder. And if you found this mystery solved, if you love learning the secrets of the plants in your home, hit that subscribe button for Everyday Harvest. We are here every week to uncover the hidden lives of the green things around us. Turn on the notification bell so you do not miss the next episode, where we are going to explore why your Christmas cactus blooms at the wrong time of year and how to fix it. Now, go check your aloe. Look closely at the center of the rosette. Is there a stalk hiding there? If not, give it more sun, more drought, more cool nights, more patience. And one day, you might be surprised.